I'm Fernando Molinares, and this is my video for my 15 hours graduate review. And I'm here at Fable, Faith Art Villa of Orlando. This is an old motel that a church turned into gallery spaces for local artists to show their work and work here sometimes. We do a show every first Friday of the month, and I've shown here many times, but this time I'm gonna use the studio to do my review. So please follow me to Studio 244 and I'll show you some of the work I've done so far. My personal goal as an artist and as a student is to develop my ability to represent the figure and being able to use it as a form of signature language with which I intend to communicate visually stories and concepts related to my personal life and my personal view of the world, particularly addressing issues related to gender, sexuality, migration, and ethnicity. To achieve this goal, I created characters that become the ABC of this language, and I put them like actors in situations that support the drama I want to represent. These characters are visually self-portraits generated out of my personal history and the environment I grew up. Just like contemporary dance uses the body on a stage, I use the body on paintings to communicate ideas. This body is expressive, is sensual, is androgynous, symbolic. This body is in most cases my body. Some of the paintings I've done in this time in school. I'm very proud about this series of the circus that I did for one ideation class. As you can see, this is one of the characters I use. It's kind of a representation of myself, and it has the same characteristics in every painting: the skinny body, the clown-like dressing, the candy cone nose. And for this series, I just took images of circus and I tried to create my own environment of a circus. And I use that environment in situations that I want to talk about, like in this one, like being constricted, or like secret encounters. This one is called clown face, like how do we disguise ourselves as clowns. This one is called pig head, which is also an analogy of how we have dirty thoughts in our mind. And this one is somebody stretching. This is part of that same series, and is called Hiding Place, which is also, I use the environment of the circus to show clandestine encounters. Another series I did in this time was a series of superheroes, where I used to take images of superheroes and then again create situations and environments. This particular painting was actually shown here in Orlando for the show commemorating the Pulse Massacre. This is a picture of my version of Spider-Man, and they are also my versions of characters. This is, as you can see, is a takeaway from the Ecstasy of Bernini, and I turn it into a superhero-like situation. This is another character I often use in my painting. I still use it in my work, and I've used it in the work I produce for the school. This character is called Kai Man, and it's a combination of mythologies of my hometown back in Colombia, in Barranquilla, where there's a story about this man that turns into a caveman. But I also use it as a metaphor for the idea of being an immigrant in a foreign land, and I link that with the mythology of Saint George and the dragon. As you can see, it's a wounded dragon that is in the wrong side of town. And I just use this same character to tell the story almost over and over again in different situations. Part of it is the yellow butterflies, which is a reference to Gabriel Garcia Marquez and 100 Years of Solitude. So this one is the Cayman is kind of one of the first ones that started this series. This is the captive Cayman, which is a Cayman that dreams of going back to the river but is still a prisoner. This one has a little more of a direct reference to Saint George and the Dragon. It's called Wounded Cayman, and it has again the same elements of the yellow butterflies, this time coming out of my mouth, because this is again I use myself as the model for these characters. This is the last painting I want to talk about. This is for the painting the narrative class, and I took the story of Saint George and the Dragon, which is one of my favorite stories, and I used some of the same images that I've used before. Is the Cayman character. This time is more explicitly stabbed by a conquistador. It's not like a random arrow coming from somewhere like in the other painting. This one is directly representing, almost denouncing the fact of how conquistadors came to the Americas and basically destroyed the myths and civilization that was there before, all in the name of the cross. And there is also, as part of the story, is the presence of the princess, who in this case, she is totally aloof from the drama that is going on behind her. And I use some of that mythology because, again, I feel connected to this story, me as a foreigner, me as the other one that comes into town, me the one that is conquered. And I represent myself by portraying myself as that person from the Cayman story. I'm the Cayman man. And again, the 100 Years of Solitude, Butterflies of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This painting is a combination of acrylic and oil, which is something that I've developed within these 15 hours classes that I have been taking. It works really well for me and create a base in acrylic. I like working in transparencies, not so much as solid, not so much solid paint, because I think that transparencies give more depth and dimension to the work. So here you can barely see where the acrylic ends and where the oil starts. I think the two techniques match up pretty well. And this is the last painting I want to talk about in my review. And this has been my 15 hours review. I want to thank you, all of you, for your support during all this time in school and your guidance, helping me develop my abilities and helping me become a more professional artist. Thank you very much.